Hello, this is wmpyr. This is not so much a response video as it is more of like a tag video. So I'm just going to share my 2 cents on a video topic that was made by OG Fitness. His original video says how to get the most from a martial art. And the guy OG Fitness is a judo competitor in his 40s, and the way that I see it, I'm sorry, man. If you're competing in a martial arts sport, a combat sport in your 40s, to me, you're a beast. You're an animal. And for me, I'm kind of in a similar boat. Not the fact that I compete because I don't. I'm retired, but I am a martial artist, and I am in my 40s. I'm 43, about to be 44 this year. So anyway, there's a lot of things that we probably share in common, concerns and stuff in regard to martial arts training, fitness and health, those kinds of things, because those are very real issues. And martial arts, the training can be very, very tough and rough. And how do you continue on without destroying your body? It's very, very important. So kind of like the blueprint that I would like to present to you guys. First, let me start with that. The blueprint, I like the Chinese martial arts personally, the way they set it out. I don't care what style. It doesn't have to be Chinese styles, but the way their thinking goes in general to me is like this. You start off with something like Wushu Kung Fu, which is acrobatic. It works on flexibility, agility, balance, strength and coordination, and endurance. So it works on a lot of attribute-based stuff. Of course, it depends on the wushu school and style and the teacher and whatnot, but I'm just saying in general, stereotypically, it works on a lot of stuff. So as a younger person, like a kid or something, that would be a great style to start off in something like that when you got a lot of energy and you're running around, but you're able to hone it. And then from there, the next one would be like, now you're talking about like high school age. Something like Wing Chun would be excellent because I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna sound negative in a way, but I'm going to say, like, if you look at a style like Wing Chun, there's kind of like an arrogance in a sense of what we do is self-defense. What we do is practical and realistic, not like those other styles. So there's that arrogance and that way of thinking where you start focusing on self-defense is important. And I'm not just saying all Wing Chun people are arrogant or the style thinks that way. No, any style, any human being that focuses more on self-defense tends to fall into that where they have that arrogance, where they go. And I'm saying arrogance because it can be a very bad thing and you could get stuck there. And I see a lot of that on YouTube where a lot of people just get stuck in that self-defense. We are practical, everyone else is impractical. What we do is realistic, everybody else is BS. So you don't want to get stuck in that mindset, but it is very, very important to start thinking that way. So to me, around high school age where you start differentiating what you did before in Wushu to develop attributes, and now you're working on more on the practical side, I think is a good thing. Okay, so that's around like high school. Okay, and then from there, when you get into like college, I feel like that's when it's more like starting to become like a profession, a career. So you start competing and start testing all those ideas in high school that you had about this is what self-defense is. This is what it means to be practical and realistic. So this is a high school mindset. So what I'm seeing on YouTube where people arguing about this kind of stuff, you guys are high school mindset, like kids, bashing on each other and stuff. You're supposed to go through that in martial arts in your journey inside your mind and be respectful about it, but you are thinking about, okay, how do I make it more realistic and whatnot? And then once again, when you get to like the college level, you test it out, you compete, you go do it, you know. And that's kind of I fell right into kind of that pattern that happened to me in my college years, where I actually had challenge matches and stuff, you know, and that was right around the early years of the UFC, which I was just fascinated with at the time when it was still called NHB. So the testing, okay, and then after that, the final area to me is now. So the testing would be like in Chinese martial arts, it would be like San Da, San Shao. I don't know the difference. I think it's the same thing, but it's just pronounced differently. So that's their full contact. Now that's not so much a style as it is a sport, an event that you compete in. And then the final chapter is, now that you've done that and you have tested yourself and found out what worked well for you and whatnot, now you're going to have injuries doing all that and throughout all the years of your training and everything. So you got to heal that. And now you have a new body as you're going into older age. So this is around the age of like 40. Okay. So now you're going to have to start adjusting. So this is when you start getting into styles like Tai Chi. So it helps welcome your skills into your new body, into an older man's body or older woman's body, and still be able to do, you know, you're transforming what you've done before in the past to where you could still do it at this older age, you know. So anyway, that to me is the Chinese blueprint, and I really like that, and I teach that to all my students, and you guys, you probably heard it before if you've been on my YouTube channel. So anyway, what OG Fitness is talking about in his video is he's talking about finding a good coach. So he was saying it's, you know, finding the style that you like and whatnot. That's all great and everything, but it comes down to the coach. The coach is more important. And I absolutely understand what he's talking about there, because he brings up a great example that you could find the best style in the world, or the style that you're going to fall in love with completely. But if the coach is not a good person, then that can completely deter you, completely discourage you from your training. In college that I attended, I was like, what is the most interesting subject? It's not math, science, or any of that for me. It was art. So I became an art major. And then I remember that teacher, who is a piece of crap, he said to me, he said, you have no artistic talent whatsoever. As a teacher, that's a fail. But at the time, that hurt me, you know. Luckily, I wasn't weak and I didn't just give in and you know, but it did really make me switch my major and whatnot, you know. But I didn't stop enjoying or loving art, thankfully, but that was not cool, you know. And that's a fail of a teacher. That was a professor, you know. And as a human being, that's very crappy. I didn't really see major signs of how this person was a terrible human being. It's not like he was necessarily abusive or whatnot, but to say something like that is very abusive, and that is, once again, as a teacher, total fail, you know. So it is important. So I would say more so than the style. What I found out in academic college was that a teacher could be teaching a subject that I'm not interested in at all. So the professor teaches history. Let's say it was this is one real example. The professor was teaching geology. I never cared about geology, but the professor was so cool, so open-minded, that after that, I was like, I want to be a geology major, you know, because the person was able to show me the beauty of his subject, which was geology. So if the professor is good, you know, that's going to make you enjoy, have a much better time and able to learn much better that way, you know. In fact, but let's think about this though. Let's say you get an awesome professor and they teach it to you and you're like, yeah, but I just don't like that. That says something bad about you, you know. So at the end of the day, it's awesome to have good professors, but you cannot rely on that is something I'd like to add to what OG Fitness was saying, because I have a friend, and he's a longtime martial arts guy, and he trained at a place where the quality, in his opinion, was extremely high. What the teacher was teaching was very difficult stuff, and the way the teacher could break it down and let you experience stuff was very high level stuff. So he really liked that school. He really liked that teacher at the time. And then when he went to other schools, because he moved or whatnot, he did move. He did go to other states. And when he did, he wasn't able to find a teacher in a martial arts school of that level. Therefore, he wouldn't train. And if you're always measuring up to that, to me, that's like the mindset of a connoisseur. And this is one thing that I learned from my own dad was my dad is like a food connoisseur. So I'm no joke. He is at like a Iron Chef level cook, right? And it's a hobby for him. He's not a professional cook. He's just really, really good at that, you know? And but when I see my dad going to restaurants and eating, 90% of the time he is unsatisfied, dissatisfied with the food that he's eating. 90% of the time he's like, they screwed up here. Oh, why did they do it this way? So that's the bad thing about becoming too critical, becoming a connoisseur in a sense. It's great that you know quality, but if you become a person that can only appreciate quality, then that's bad. So as much as it's important to find a good teacher, a good school, you also want to be able to just go to an average martial arts school with average expectations, not expecting an awesome teacher, an awesome school, and just be able to train and have a good time. You know, so then that says more something about you. So it's okay that this teacher can't break down this move at the level of a world-class instructor. It's okay that the training isn't like, you don't come out going, wow, that was an amazing training, blew my mind, changed the way I think. It's okay. It's just another day in the office, because at the end of the day, you do need reps. You do need to be able to train and keep going. So if you're always looking for perfect or super high standards, you're not going to find it probably. So the only thing you got to be careful of is you got to watch out for the really, really bad stuff. So average stuff, I'm saying, is okay. That's fine in your martial arts journey. An average school, an average teacher, you know, I was just here for a couple of months or whatever. That's fine, because for those couple of months you didn't stop training. That's a good thing. You added stuff, you know, you added more experience, more techniques, more moves, whatever. That's a good thing. But the ones you got to be careful of is the negative, the stuff that is so bad, like the teacher's abusive, the teacher's a con artist. You know, the people in the school, they're all rough, so it's a fight school and they just beat you up and you get injured. Those are the kinds of things you got to avoid without a doubt. I don't care how good they are, how famous they are, you know, how nice the gym is, what everyone says about the place. None of that is important. You got to avoid that kind of stuff, you know. And I've seen stuff where people get bullied in class, or you know, it's just some terrible stuff, you know. The school gets challenged and the teacher just lets it happen, doesn't even take care of that. Like when I had my schools, and if a guy came in to challenge, you know, I wouldn't be like, okay, you guys take care of this guy. No, I would throw the guy out. You know, I wouldn't fight the guy and do this challenge match. I would throw him out and say, get the hell out of here. This is not that kind of school, you know. So you got to protect your students, you know, protect. And if I did see people picking on each other, or, you know, making a little bit too hard contact, I would call it out. I wouldn't just let them just figure it out. You know, you gotta, as a teacher, to me, that is your responsibility as well, you know. So anyway, so actually so that was a little bit adding on to what OG Fitness said, but what I want to do here was add a completely new perspective. So this video is getting It's over 10 minutes now. I'm going to keep going. You could stop, of course, at any time, so don't feel like you need to finish the video. So this is the third part, I guess. So this third part, what I want to talk about is, because the title is How to Get the Most from a Martial Art. And I think what that comes down to is, it's, to me, is not so much, you know, the teacher in the school. Like I said, an average is fine. It's you. You want to become a really good student. To me, that is the goal. That is very, very important. So the people that are looking for the best school, the best styles, you know, I question you and I say, what if you train in the second best style, the second best school? What if you train in the third, fourth, fifth, 100th? You know, does it matter? What's more important to me is not so much that. It's more important to me that you make yourself a good enough student that it doesn't matter that even if you train in the worst style in the world, that you could still benefit from it. Then that means you're solid. You're really, really become, no matter where you go, no matter what teacher it is, you're going to be okay because you're that solid. So, of course, you're not going to start off that way, but I say you aim for that. So if you do go to a messed up school and the teacher is not right, you could rely on you and go, that's not right. And then you could walk out of there, you know? Or if you go to a place and the teacher is okay, he's a bit clowning too much, he thinks he's hilarious, but he's really not. You know, it's like, I want to focus on the skill. You're okay with that. You know how to handle that. You know, so I'd say you become the best student that you can be. That's I'd say even more important than finding a good teacher and a good school. You know, is to be able to do that. So on a response, this guy, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name, but Docina Plain, his response says, a great teacher is hard to find, but a great student is even harder to find. And bam, you nailed it. You know, I 100% agree with that statement, is you become the good student. That's the focus there, you know. So no matter where you go, you're not so easily swayed. You're a solid mountain. Yes, you follow their teaching, you learn as much as you can and whatnot, but you're solid, you know. Okay, so then now this is the fourth part of the video. The next subject I want to talk about is kind of a philosophy that I have. It's a microcosm and a macrocosm. So the way that I see it is the dojo is the microcosm and your everyday life is the macrocosm. What this literally, it sounds complex, but microcosm means that is your a small universe. Macrocosm is a large universe. So what you go through and experience in your martial arts school is a small reflection of your huge world, which is the bigger world, which is your everyday life. Okay, so you experience those two together. They are connected. Okay, so the way that you tackle problems in your martial arts school, the way that you try to get along with your classmates, teammates, the way that you're trying to learn a technique or try to make a technique work and stuff like that, I'm saying that all reflects your everyday life, and it should. Once you're able to figure this out and connect the two, that's when you start really going into, to me, the ultimate level, which is you're living and breathing martial arts nonstop. It's not you have your everyday life and you're going about this stuff, and then you go to your martial arts school and you shift gear, and now you're doing martial arts and you're in that martial arts mind frame, and then you stop and then you go back to your everyday life. No, it becomes continuous. It's connected, so you don't stop doing martial arts. Yes, you're at the school and you're training specifically in martial arts, but then in your everyday life, you're still applying it. And to me, that's the way it goes. And what you do in everyday life, you also apply in your martial arts school. Why is this important? This is important because this is, to me, how you get really, really good in martial arts once you make that connection, because you never stop. And so even if I'm not training at a school, I don't belong to a school, I still have that mindset, and then I'm able to use the mindset, the skills, all that stuff, the philosophy, everything in my everyday life, where it's constantly being used, constantly being honed, practiced, and helps me make my everyday life better. To me, that is where it's at. Another reason why it's so important to connect is, to put it simply, is it's there to make your personality better. You look at martial arts, and what you should be doing is trying to make your skill better. Okay, so in order to make your skill better, you should be self-reflective. It shouldn't Training the incorrect way is going like, oh, I tapped him out today. I tapped this guy out. I tapped that guy out. I tapped out all these people easier today than last week, so I'm getting better. Rather than viewing it that way, it should come from studying yourself, going, how could I have done this better? How could I have positioned myself? How could I have, done the body mechanics more efficiently? How could I have done it to where I could focus more of my body weight into the target, or whatever, So that is self analysis. And in your everyday life, you come home from work or whatever, and you're going, why was this guy a jerk to me, or why is my coworker like kind of like not really talking to me and talking more to this guy, or whatever, so you should self-analyze that, rather than going, oh man, he's a jerk, the world sucks, everybody's a jerk. Rather than doing that, you start self-analyzing yourself and going, how can I make things better? Not necessarily how can I win people over, but how can I make my life better? How can it make more sense to me? How can I become, if you become maybe a nicer person, a stronger person, then you will attract more people like that around you, and your life will become a better place to be. So it's things like that that's connected to the martial arts, how you problem solve, how you self-analyze, and then you apply it into your everyday life. So to me, that is the ultimate place, and of course that's never ending. And same with even the first stuff from the Chinese viewpoint of martial arts training, which you start off with something like wushu, where you're doing agility training, cardiovascular training. That stuff is also never ending. Flexibility training. So it all that stuff is never ending. But the ultimate part right there, like I said, is you can't ask a 7-year-old to add the concept of microcosm and macrocosm. It's probably very, very difficult for a 7-year-old to understand that. So that's why I say that's the ultimate. In a sense, it's towards later on, when you've lived a good portion of your life and stuff. So all right, so I've rambled on long enough. Man, it's been over 20 minutes. I hope if you have stuck around this long, thank you so much, and I hope you're able to benefit from it. Thank you for listening, and take care, folks.